Hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm a pastry chef and I love cheesecake. I make it for special occasions, holidays, and even if I just have some extra time. I feel like there's always time for cheesecake. So today I'm gonna teach you how to make a 20-minute cheesecake, a 2-hour cheesecake, and a 2-day cheesecake. So let's get started. First, we're gonna make our 20-minute cheesecake. This is perfect for last-minute dinner plans where you can make it right before dinner and then it'll be set right in time for dessert. I've got some cream cheese here, some sugar, and I have a double boiling pot. That way you don't burn your cream cheese or your sugar while you're melting it. And we're gonna give this just a quick stir, just to incorporate all the ingredients. While that's melting, I'm gonna bloom my gelatin by adding the gelatin to some water. This is gonna activate the gelatin, and I'm just gonna stir my cream cheese and my sugar, get it nice and melted. You'll see the cream cheese start to turn to more of a off-white. That's when you know that your sugar is melting in with your cream cheese. We're gonna add our lemon juice, our vanilla, and our lemon zest. The vanilla is really gonna bring the flavor out of the lemon, and then you also want to be able to get that fresh lemon flavor. If you have a little bit of lumps, you can switch from a spatula into a whisk. The best cheesecakes are nice and smooth, have a nice texture and consistency. So now we've got all of our lumps out, everything's melted and incorporated. We're gonna add our gelatin and let our gelatin melt. I'm gonna put this in the freezer to let it cool off. Okay, so I've let this chill for about 5 minutes. Now I'm gonna add our store-bought whipped cream and fold it in increments. You don't wanna stir it because that takes the air out of your whipped cream. So we're just folding it in. I can definitely smell the lemon zest. You're gonna see the change in color, and you're also gonna see that your mixture is getting nice and light and airy. And we're gonna put it into our prepared mini pie shells. You just want one big scoop. You don't wanna mess with it too much because again, you don't want the air to come out. Okay, so now I'm gonna put these in the freezer for 15 minutes until they're set, and then we'll be ready to serve. I love a little garnish to really brighten up the cheesecake. So we've got some lemon wedges here, and I'm gonna add some fresh mint. I love the color, and it's really gonna liven up the flavor. And there you have it, a perfect lemon cheesecake for any type of social gathering or just for yourself. It's zesty, it's creamy and smooth, light and airy, perfect. Let's have a bite. Super light, airy, fresh, zesty, all the best components. If you have a little bit more time, I'm gonna teach you how to make a 2-hour cheesecake. For the 2-hour cheesecake, it's definitely more traditional, something that most people are used to having. It's got nice creamy texture, really thick, and of course we're gonna top it off with strawberries for a nice presentation for your guests. So the first thing we're gonna do is have graham cracker crumbs. Then we're gonna add our sugar, just enough to sweeten your crust. And then we're gonna add our melted butter, give it a quick stir so everything is nice and hydrated and incorporated. This is gonna be the crust. I love that we have the pre-prepared graham cracker crumbs because when I was growing up, I used to have to crunch them by hand and it was so time consuming. So now we're gonna put our graham crackers mixture into our pie pan. You wanna add just a little at a time just because you don't wanna overfill your pan. We're gonna spread it out and then you're gonna start to press with your hand all the way up the sides. You wanna be firm because you don't want it to come apart when you're slicing your cheesecake. Alrighty, so now we have our prepared crust pan. We're gonna put this in the oven on 350 for 5 to 10 minutes, just so it's nice and firm. So now I'm gonna show you how to make the filling. You're gonna use a stand mixer or you can use a hand mixer if you have one at home. We're gonna add our cream cheese and we're gonna mix our cream cheese just for a second because we want it to get nice and smooth. Then we're gonna add our sour cream. This is gonna really help add flavor and texture to your cheesecake. I'm gonna put this at a medium speed just so it gets nice and mixed up. Be sure to scrape down the sides of your bowl while you're mixing to incorporate all your ingredients and you don't get any chunks in your cream cheese. And finally, I'm gonna add the sugar. Alrighty, now that our cheesecake batter is nice and smooth, we're gonna add the eggs one at a time. You wanna make sure you add it one at a time because you want your eggs to be fully absorbed and incorporated before you add the next egg. If it doesn't fully absorb and incorporate, then you can get a really soggy and ill-mixed cheesecake and no one wants that. And of course, vanilla for flavor. Now that our cream cheese filling has been mixed and our crust is set and baked, we're gonna just combine the two. Pour right into the pie filling, right in the middle. Ooh, that looks so good. Super creamy texture, no lumps. I love to see that. Now we're gonna put it in the oven on 300 for 45 minutes to an hour. You wanna take it out when it still has a nice jiggle to it because it's gonna keep cooking as it cools. Now we have time to make a strawberry cheesecake topping. So first you're gonna take your strawberries and you're gonna put them in your skillet. You also wanna add your sugar. Sugar is gonna help pull out the juices of your strawberries. We're also gonna add some corn syrup. The corn syrup's gonna give it a nice color and gloss and also some added sweetness. You're gonna cook this down. You still wanna keep your strawberries intact. We're just making some nice glazed strawberries. Of course, you can switch this out to like blueberries or blackberries or raspberries, but strawberries are the best. We're gonna let them continue cooking. We've got some water here. We're gonna add it to our cornstarch and give it a nice whisk. This is gonna make our strawberry topping nice and thick so you can pour it and serve it right on top of your cheesecake. So it should thicken up fairly quickly. You wanna cook your cornstarch until it gets a nice glossy color again for about 2 to 3 minutes. This looks so good. Now we're ready to transfer it into a heat-proof safe bowl. We're gonna chill it in the refrigerator until it's nice and cool, and we'll be ready to top it to our favorite cheesecake. All right, so we have our perfect 2-hour cheesecake right here, nice and set. We let it chill for an hour. So we're just gonna put our strawberries right on top, and we're just gonna spread it out. This looks so good. I love the gloss and the shine on the strawberries. The corn syrup really helped. And there you have it, a 2-hour cheesecake with a lovely strawberry topping. That is delicious. The vanilla and the strawberry all blends in together. It's got super glossy strawberries, a traditional style cheesecake that everyone's gonna love. Stay with me for our 2-day cheesecake. It's indulgent, decadent, and totally worth it. The first thing we're gonna do is make our dark chocolate cookie crust. Take your dark chocolate cocoa powder, put it in a bowl, then you're gonna add your flour and your sugar. Give this just a good mix, just to get it well incorporated. We're gonna add a couple of cubes of cold butter. You just wanna cut it with your fork, getting it nice and incorporated. You want it to look almost like coarse sand. You're gonna add your egg and you're gonna add your vanilla extract. These are the only liquids that you're gonna need to make your dough. And it should come together pretty quickly. You're gonna add your pinch of salt. The salt is a flavor enhancer, so it's really gonna bring out the flavors of the vanilla and bring out the flavors of the chocolate. So once it's all incorporated and it starts to form a ball, be sure to use a little bit of bench flour to dust onto your table. Dump all of your mixture onto the table, and we're just gonna knead this for a few minutes. If it starts to get a little sticky on your table, just add just a little bit more bench flour, but you don't wanna add too much because you can dry out your dough. You know that it's kneaded enough when everything is incorporated and you've got a nice soft ball that isn't too sticky and isn't too tough. We're gonna wrap this up and let it chill in the refrigerator for about an hour. So now it's nice and set. I like to use powdered sugar to dust my surface because it keeps your dough from sticking on the surface, and also it keeps it a little sweet too. So we're just gonna roll it out into a nice round. So I'm making it kind of a weird shape, but it'll work just fine. You wanna measure this out into 1/8 of an inch. We got a 3-inch cutter. We're gonna cut our rounds. You're gonna get about 8 to 9 rounds with this amount of dough. For the crust, you're gonna need about 7. And I love making it this size and this thickness because it cooks faster and more even, and you're able to crumble them up in the food processor much faster. Alrighty, so we're gonna bake these on 350 for about 15 to 20 minutes. And we'll be back. Okay, so I've got my cookies nice and cool. Now we're gonna put them directly into the food processor. Give it a nice little pulse. We're gonna add our powdered sugar. Give it a few pulses. Now we're gonna add our melted butter, and this is gonna crumble up really nicely. So it's nice and incorporated, the color is nice and dark, and now we're gonna put it into our springform pan. Note that we put some aluminum foil at the base of your springform pan because we're gonna put your pan directly into your water bath. That's gonna help set your cheesecake and cook it evenly. And just like our 2-hour cheesecake, we're gonna firmly press it down on the bottom. So now we're gonna chill this while we create our fillings. so we're gonna make our caramel sauce that's gonna go into our filling and be a lovely topping to go on top of our cheesecake. We're cooking our sugar on a medium heat. We're gonna get nice and caramelized. You want it to melt fully. So since we're using a dry caramel, which means without water, you're gonna wanna stir constantly to evenly distribute the heat to the sugar. So it's getting nice and liquidy now, and you can see the color is starting to change. It's starting to get to a nice brown, but we want it to cook a little darker. Cooking the sugar should only take about 3 to 5 minutes total. So now that we're at a nice dark amber color, you're gonna add your butter. We're gonna let our butter melt. We're gonna add our heavy cream. Give it a few stirs, let it incorporate, and then in just a moment, you'll have some really glossy caramel sauce. If it gets too hot while you're incorporating the butter and the heavy cream, go ahead and turn it down to low or off. It should be hot enough for you to continue melting the butter and the cream. So there you have your caramel sauce. So I'm gonna let this cool to room temperature, and then we're gonna make our filling. First, we're gonna add our cream cheese. You wanna make sure that it's nice and mixed up before you add any other ingredients, or it's gonna get really chunky. Then you're gonna add your sour cream. Next, we're gonna add our sugar. So now we're gonna add one at a time our eggs. You wanna have that nice off-white golden color. Next, we're gonna add our vanilla and our white chocolate. You wanna make sure that your white chocolate is melted to room temperature. Too hot and it's gonna cook your cheesecake. Too cold and it's gonna seize. I add white chocolate because it really adds a nice full flavor, makes it really decadent and rich. So we're gonna divide everything into these two bowls. We're gonna put all of the chocolate, same as the white chocolate, we melted it at low power. And then we're gonna use only half a cup of the caramel. We're gonna save the rest to put as a topping. Then we're gonna take 2 cups of the filling and put it in each of the bowls. It's okay if they're not completely leveled. We're doing this because we're dividing it into 3 layers, so we have a nice 3-layered cheesecake. So let's incorporate the melted chocolate into the cheesecake batter. And now we're gonna stir our caramel. The difference between caramel and caramel is that caramel is a sauce, caramel is a candy. Some people use them a little interchangeably though. Ooh, look at that pretty color. I love this color. So now that looks nice and incorporated. We've got our springform pan and we're gonna layer our filling. We're putting the chocolate in first because it has the most density. And we're gonna smooth this layer out nice and even in our springform pan. Now with the next 2 layers, you wanna make sure you pour slowly. That way it settles on top and it doesn't zebra in and mix in with the other layer. You can even kind of pour it on top in a circular motion. So we're just smoothing it out, not to put too much pressure on the batter. And then finally, we're gonna add our top layer, which is our white chocolate layer. Again, you kind of just wanna pour it on top and around. And so we're just gonna smooth this out just so gently. Now that it's all smooth, I'm gonna put this in a water bath. You want a nice pan size that's gonna fit the entire cheesecake. Place it into here. And then you're gonna get some hot water and you're gonna pour it just about 1/3 to 1/2 of the way up. This helps cook your cheesecake more evenly, and also it's gonna keep it from forming a dome and cracking. So we're gonna put this in the oven on 300 for about 2 hours, and then once it's all cooked through, you're gonna put it in the refrigerator overnight. And you need that full chill all the way through so you can slice it perfectly and it sets really nicely. Okay, so now we're gonna make candy pecans. I like to do this on the first day, that way you can get it out the way, let it cool and set, ready for day 2, and you can put it as your topping. We've got our water here, we've got our sugar, and we've got some corn syrup. This is on a medium-high heat. You don't want it too hot because you don't want to cook your sugar too fast. You want to cook your sugar for about 3 to 5 minutes. Once you get a nice glossy color, you can add your pecans. This time you really want to stir this constantly. Make sure you kind of keep them separated so they don't stick together too much. Once your pecans are nice and coated and glossy, we're gonna take a parchment lined pan and you're just gonna pour it right on the sheet. Be sure to separate your pecans out while they set. Take your cheesecake out of the oven, put it in the refrigerator, and then take a nap. You deserve it. We'll come back on day 2 and finish off our cheesecake. All right, so it's day 2. I've removed the cheesecake from the foil and the water bath. It's nice and set, and you're just gonna pop it open right from the bottom. It should come right out. We have melted our chocolate, and we've also just reheated our caramel from yesterday. First, you're gonna drizzle the chocolate. You wanna do like a zigzag, and you wanna make sure that the consistency is liquidy, but also thick, so it holds. You add your pecans. It looks so crunchy, so crispy. I'm gonna use all of these. There's no such thing as too many pecans. And then once you've topped it with your pecans, you're gonna seal it with your caramel sauce. This time, I like to do it the other way to give it a nice pattern. That looks so good. Okay, so there you have it. You've got your 2-day cheesecake. Your friends are gonna be so impressed. I'm gonna give myself a very healthy portion. Look at the slice that's coming out. Oh my gosh, so pretty. Dig into all these layers. Ooh. Totally worth it. You can totally taste all the flavors of the white chocolate, of the vanilla, the caramel, the chocolate, the nice bitter, crunchy crust. It's so sweet, but it's super balanced. That's what I love about it. It's not like an over sugar block of cheesecake. It really is a perfect level of flavor. So this was wonderful and delicious. I really hope you enjoyed making all the different cheesecakes. We made a 20-minute lemon cheesecake, a delicious, quick and easy 2-hour strawberry cheesecake, and of course the wonderfully decadent 2-day turtle cheesecake. Let me know which one was your favorite in the comments below, and don't forget, there's always time for cheesecake.
Oh yes!